What if events went differently in Avengers Age of Ultron? What if a zombie outbreak happened? What would have changed? Find out in this highly anticipated Marvel's What If. Welcome back, my fellow watchers of the multiverse, to another brand new insane video, and I'm super hyped to finally have done this particular what if video. It's been requested for a very long time, almost for a couple years now, and I do want to say getting into this one was really interesting because I was like, how am I going to do this particular what if scenario? And this is right at the peak before the events of Infinity War, Endgame, and it's also right between, like, you know, we're almost at Civil War, so again, I cannot wait to get into this, my fellow watchers. But that being said, let's dive right into the brand new Marvel's What If episode. Location, somewhere around Strucker's residence. Time, sometime in the night. There are many dangers in this world. One could ram their overspeeding car into a tree, crack their skull open, and that's it, the chapter's over. But the book of their life is closed. One could play Daredevil in a needleless stunt, and ironically come standing face to face with the devil. But for some reason yet unknown, death sometimes comes without being invited. Morbid thoughts like these continue to run among in Black Widow's troubled mind, as she and her colleagues, Tony Stark, Steve Rogers, Thor, Bruce Banner, and Clint Barton approach Strucker's residence with one mission in mind, and that is to snatch Loki's staff back. The evening is cool and slightly chilly, and entirely different circumstances. It would have been a nice set for the mood for a soothing evening, but they are on their way to Strucker's residence, the troublemaking motive. The soothing evening would have to wait until Christmas. Thor's lines of thoughts differ from Widow's, as he simply cannot wait to be done with the mission. His mind wanders around the unfinished pages of his life, and when the snapping and crackling of leaves beneath Stark's feet jolt him back to reality, he wonders what people would think if they knew what goes through their heads of such gifted heroes, even the most tense circumstances. Flexing his hammer in his hand, as a reflex, he tries in vain to stop his mind from wandering again, but the walk is uneventful, and there is only so much a man can do. On the contrary, Stark relishes every moment of the brief walk to Strucker's residence. Any mission, however, is always, to him, a good time to flex his suit and impress with his gadgets. The evening is still young and the main event is yet to begin. Stark conceals a smile. He has come ready to play. For Banner, it is yet another test of his self-control. He has grown incredibly strong at channeling the right emotion when he needs it, but his heart never rests easy when push comes to shove. He still has occupational slip-ups, and for a problem of this nature, every mission is another test, and any error detrimental. Captain America is enthusiastic to serve a slice of a vendetta to the enemy. Besides, Loki's staff rightfully belongs to them, the Avengers, and what is wrong needs to be set right. Hawkeye confidently salutes through the forests. If he bounced any further, he would start floating. He approaches calmly, coolly, and enthusiastically, his arrows clinging inside the holder strapped around his torso. To him, like the sound of bells to the Charmin, they soothe him. The entire pack approach Strucker's residence, and Captain America makes a mindful remark, drawing their attention to the fact that they have not met the resistance they prepared for. It's not that the place is not heavily guarded, but that it is not guarded in the least. Black Widow urges the pack to forge ahead, as that they should not be an issue since it works out in their favor. She reckons Strucker is not expecting them. She reminds them that they have chosen to act in the evening, specifically because they wanted to get it in easily, and that is this coincidence helps their case. And that this coincidence helps their case. They heed her words and intrude on. The walk stretches on, and an antsy Iron Man advises that they split up to work faster. In his opinion, perhaps some of them who get lucky will find a shortcut to the residence. If they had known what will play out as a result of his suggestion, he would never have let the thought travel out of his mouth. Black Widow teams up with Hulk, Iron Man with Thor, and Captain America with Clint Barton. They start in their separate ways. Iron Man projects a beam of light from his suit, which illuminates the path ahead of him. Thor advises that they keep walking straight ahead, but Iron Man insists that they take a narrow turn. Thor turns to reason with him and explains that the path is unknown and could be riddled with all sorts of barriers. Besides, it is just not a part of the plan. Thor tries but fails to convince Iron Man to stick to the plan. Iron Man remains firm in his decision. He bases his argument on the trustworthiness of Jarvis, who in his words was quicker, more reliable, more efficient than all the Avengers combined and multiplied. An exaggeration, no doubt, but the statement does not trick well with others. However, 24 minutes later, they arrive gallantly at the very point where they began. Iron Man throws an angry tantrum, directing that they keep moving. It is the only way he is able to save face after being so wrong. Black Widow and Banner face much worse. The two had earlier decided to press on without any light, as the cover of darkness is the greatest shield. It sounded like a great infiltration strategy in theory. However, after stumbling one or two times, and with their skin now bearing rashes from branches and trees alike, the Widow and Banner are no longer convinced that they made the best decision. Suddenly, they hear the eerie sound of quick footsteps, and observe a streak of light circle them briefly in the dark. Their defenses immediately go up and they stand back to back, each ready to tackle any issue from their side. What creature could it be? Fireflies do not travel round and round in circles, and even if they do, they would not be large enough to leave such a streak of light. Besides, fireflies are just not fast enough to travel as quickly as they would require. Thunder rumbles in the night sky, and a long lash of lightning tears the darkness in two, right as the glory sight comes briefly into view. Standing bent over itself is the blood-drenched figure of a teenage boy. His head is bowed and his hair is tangled. There is blood on his chest and torso, and his raggedy trousers are soaked in the same mournful fluid. The boy stands a few feet away from the Widow, and the lightning disappears coldly, abandoning them with the mystery that lies in the darkness. Black Widow makes the first move and inquires of the boy's name. The silence answers back, alarmed and unable to assess the boy's position in the darkness. Banner abruptly steps forward and tries to shield Black Widow behind himself with his right hand. Animal-like snarls pierce the woods, just as Banner feels a sharp and excruciating pain in his left hand. The lightning illuminates on cue. The sight before them could have played out in slow motion. Banner and Black Widow find themselves looking down into a face with fully diluted eyes. The skin on the cheeks torn and bruised out, not bleeding. The teeth jagged and rough, clenching their deadly grip. Banner's left hand. Something is terribly wrong with the boy, and Black Widow knows exactly what. She jumps into action and with a swift kick of her wrist, severs Banner's hand mercilessly. Meanwhile, Iron Man and Thor hear the loud cry of pain let out by Bruce Banner. They yell out to him in response and also receive a response from Clint Barton and Captain America. They quickly backtrack and retrace their steps in order to get to Banner and Widow's location. They are not prepared for the sight that they will walk into. Black Widow takes a step back, knowing full well the results of her actions. The pain and anger and the sheer grief caused by her actions will undoubtedly trigger Banner's transformation into the Hulk. At that moment, the thunder gives way to a downpour upon them. Black Widow clenches the blade in her hand and gets ready to defend herself, anticipating another attack from the boy, but he simply freezes in front of them. Banner groans in pain as he fixates his gaze upon the hand that used to be a part of his body, which is now another relic of the woods. With his transformation into the Hulk now complete and in all control washed away by the rain, his body starts acting without much thought or reason. In a matter of seconds, he finishes off the boy, rendering the face safe enough to be examined properly. The name tag on his shirt glisters and draws their attention. His name is Pedro Maximoff. The tag bore other information such as super speed being the strength of the boy. By this time, Banner has calmed down. In the frenzy, it does not skip Black Widow's notice that even after losing control as the Hulk, Banner did not once turn on her. Iron Man and Thor arrive, and Black Widow brings them to speed on what had transpired in the past few minutes. She had already managed to wrap Bruce's wound and has already explained to him what she is now about to let the others know. She brings to their notice the fact that the strange behavior of the boy is not ordinarily. In her days of training, she came across similar creatures. She tells them that a single bite would infect a person in seconds, and the only way to prevent it is to isolate the contaminated region immediately when the bite occurs. This is why she had sacrificed Banner's hand as quickly and seemingly ruthlessly as she did. The scene plays out in her head again and she shrugs. Creatures like Maximoff are the agents of the apocalypse, the agents at the very end of the world. Clint Barton and Iron Man reunite with the rest of the group, and they decide to brace the situation and make their way inside Strucker's residence. While they eventually relocate, the building could pass as an abandoned one, but the team reminds itself on why they have come this far. They gather some guts and step in. It gets even worse from there. After the event session outside Strucker's compound, Black Widow is agitated, the Hulk is in pain, Iron Man is bruised, and the rest are plainly terrified. Nevertheless, they don the reputation and identity of the Avengers and each keep his own fear to himself. When they eventually locate the compound and step in, the interior part of the mansion is nothing like they had expected to see. None of them know any longer exactly what they expected to see. Their spirits are critically low, and they all wish that they could turn around and hatch a better plan. But what makes them superheroes if they cannot do extraordinary things? They all press on. Iron Man's trust gadgets would finally have their time to shine. Quite literally, he successfully illuminates the room with a glow from his arm. At first, they were suspicious of the fact that they had met absolutely no residents from Strucker on their way. But looking around the room, all the suspicions are quelled. The lifeless bodies of men, most likely Strucker's thugs, lay scattered all over the room. They did not give it too much thought, as a man with many enemies and few friends could easily end up this way. Since they had no idea where Loki's staff is, and even less than an idea where to search, they decide to split up again to locate it. Captain America suggests that they swap up the teaming, and that they all find it a good enough idea to put an abrupt end to a long night. Clint Barton and Thor find the staff, and the Avengers leave the house, its mysteries and its depressing aurora behind. They look forward to the morning, bringing a fresh start in newer adventures. Their guesses are terribly far from what the morning has in store. It is an anonymous decision of the pack to spend the night recalibrating and coordinating their next step now that Loki's staff is in their possession. They indeed spend the night exchanging meaningful contributions. This was part of the work that was less exciting. It was not so super, but it was crucial. And when done right, this sort of planning could save their lives when superpowers or skills fail point blank. The deliberation carries on deep into the night, and naturally they bond over it. Stark reaffirms his commitment to the team. Naturally, each team member commits to fighting the good fight and fighting it right. Such a moment could be accompanied by soft and emotional music. It is moments like this that sometimes provide the drive for them to keep doing what they're doing, to confront and remain in daunting places like the one they visited earlier. In this moment, they realize that it was all worth it. Eventually, the conversation comes to an end and they head to bed. Each is left to face his own thoughts and convictions as a private affair, and then wait for the morning to come. Clint Barton awakens. He had volunteered to sleep on the couch, so he is the closest to the kitchen in the compound. Still desiring to catch some more sleep, he shuns the rude noises. He has no idea that the visitors producing the noises is not intellectually enough to be considered. The zombie that had made its way into their base stumbles around blindly. Its eyes, gruesomely outside of their sockets, stiffened joints continue to bump its cupboards, trying to trace and follow the sounds of bodies. That sound is Clint Barton snoring. In a different clime, it might have seemed funny, the thought that a person gets killed because they snore. It would be a weapon every wife wields against a husband, only loud in sleep. It would be a folklore to be recounted even in the days when cars and cows could both fly on fuel. Right now, it is a matter of life and death. As hitting and bumping gets closer, Clint sits up on the couch. He has his back to the kitchen and his eyes close to the kitchen. At this point, the stumbling has ceased, but it is not a reason to breathe easy because the creature stands right behind the sofa. When Clint finally speaks, he sarcastically thanks whoever it is for disturbing his slumber. Upon hearing Clint's voice, the zombie lunges forward with its mouth wide. Right as Clint stands up, as if not in a god-ordinary timing, Clint is in shock. He lets out a gasp, but his quick reflexes kick in, and he grabs the nearest possible weapon, which turns out to be a remote. He does so much damage to the creature with that single item, anyone could tell he is no ordinary man. At this point, the rest of the crew have arrived downstairs and they witness Clint throw the body aside. They are prepared to find another zombie, and this time it's also in the compound, and naturally look to Black Widow for an explanation. However, she too has no answer. There were several questions on the ground. Why was there a zombie in town, and how did it get in? After taking a moment to confront herself, Widow figures she might actually know what is going on. Not how it got in, but how it operates. She narrates her experience the previous night with Maximoff, and how he did not attack during Hulk's transformation. She reckoned that there was a deterrent that hampered its functionings, and she was willing to put all her money on the fact that it was the rain. Knowing that she does not have much proof to support her theory, she still presses on because she is convinced of the fact that if it is correct, she would regret keeping it to herself for the rest of her life. As for how the creature got in, Thor is driven to find out and walks to the front door, scrutinizing it. The door is protected by a biometric security, so unless the zombie acquired IT skills after getting infected, somehow they were let in. In order to examine the door, Thor opens it, and it turns out to be a big mistake. Right at the door, two zombies land right on Thor, revealing behind them a city infested with zombies. There was no time to think about what happened or why. Thor needed rescuing. He hauls them off himself and attempts to throw them out of the way, as far to the crowd, before the zombies fall and push through. In the heart of the moment, Iron Man drags the two zombies inside, giving everyone present a mini heart attack. However, he knows just what he is doing because this way the door is able to shut properly, and the other zombies get locked out. Besides, tackling the two zombies in the house was like swatting a fly. They simply never stood a chance against the force of all the Avengers at once. There is no time in that satisfaction. Widow advises that the best way to tackle an outbreak is to face it squarely. As her calculations, the outbreak is not too severe, and if they act fast, they might be able to tackle it. From what she sees, when the door is briefly opened, they could tackle all of the zombies if each of them gave 100%. The team had no other line of action. It was better to go with what she said than sit idle. They would rack their brains about the mysterious of the door once they secure their city. It was a matter of priorities and the scale of importance. The investigation could wait. The Avengers get suited up and fully geared up for action. They were going not on a deadly mission, but a mission of death itself. It would go down as one of their biggest wins if they succeeded. They exchange momentarily glances and the Hulk, in a spur moment, collects the Black Widow in an embrace. Black Widow is flushed with embarrassment, but the little incident serves as a much-needed icebreaker. Once the door opens, the Avengers head out, in different locations all at once. Each man is on his own, and there is no scope of error. They have stocked themselves with darts, laced with neutralizing sedatives, and all contrary of Iron Man's cutting-edge technology, they are able to shoot them out of pistols. They get to shooting. Zombies begin to fall in different numbers and directions. Things seem to be going well from the beginning. This gives Black Widow a bad feeling. Things could never simply go smoother. No sooner had she thought about it, Thor let out a sharp cry. When they each turned, they found him clutching his leg with his gun, lying in the distance away from him. There are 3 zombies around him and they are coming in close. Captain America runs to the nearest sprinkler or pipe, But before he reaches, he realizes the shout from Thor means one thing. He has already been bitten. He stops in his tracks and turns around to find that his colleagues are now not around. Some are even shedding a few tears. Captain America is unwilling to accept it, but the circumstances do not give him time to accept it. As seconds after getting bitten, Thor springs up, skin ripped and eyes dilated, groaning and growling in unity with one another, who just seconds ago were his adversaries. It is all so sudden. None of them had time to even fathom how he got bitten or how it even happened. He was growling in their direction. As he and the other zombies approach them, as they freeze on the spot like sitting ducks, Iron Man thinks quickly and shoots a dart in Thor's direction, something none of them was willing to do. He yells and yanks their attention back to reality, hurtling them back towards the house. It is a miracle how they follow. After the unfortunate incident with Thor, the Avengers' spirits are thoroughly dampened. Iron Man paces restlessly, and he sits in silence. Iron Man tries to motivate them to continue, but Captain America shuts him down, claiming that he should not have neutralized Thor. Iron Man finds it unreasonable as Thor had been bitten before their very eyes. However, Captain America insists that the infected part could have been isolated, like it was done for Banner. Iron Man stands by his decision, stating that he did what he needed to do. An agitated Clint tries to calm them both down, stating that the team has not really known peace ever since they decided to retrieve Loki's staff. Immediately he states this. Iron Man pieces the issue together. He runs inside and storms back out with the staff in question. The group find themselves puzzled, but he insists that they pay attention to his words. He redirects their thoughts to the previous evening when they had split up to locate Strucker's residence. He discloses the mistake he made in guiding himself and Thor, relying on his AI software. He emphasizes that the encounter with the zombie at Strucker's compound occurred when the staff was present. Bringing it back resulted in the zombies following them. The problem, he urges, lies within the staff. He believes it's jamming his signals and led him and Thor astray. Moreover, it explains the malfunctioning unlocked door. In essence, the corruption staff has orchestrated all of the atrocities. After Iron Man shares his perspective, the entire team agrees. Black Widow proposes using the staff to lure the zombies away from the city and confine them. United in honoring Thor, they stand in solitary. The plan is to attract the zombies with the staff, and they prepare themselves for the task. All this is done in loving memory of Thor. And that is going to be the first part of What If There Was a Zombie Outbreak in Avengers Age of Ultron. Now, would you like to see a part 2? Let me know in the comments down below. And if you guys did enjoy this Marvel's What If episode, do make sure to subscribe, like, share, and turn those notifications on so you and your friends are all up to date with the latest content. Also, make sure to follow the Patreon as it's starting at just $10 a month. It really goes a long way. You can get some really crazy content for $10. We're going to be doing animations. There's so many different things coming out on the YouTube channel. Anything really helps. It just helps me really make the channel the best that I can. But again, thank you so much for tuning in and have an amazing day. Peace out.